Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to episode number 21 in our Oxygen Not Included Redux series. I just brought our rocket back down. You can see we have 800 data banks left because we made over 1,000 on our last trip into space. If you look at our research and you add up all the researches that are left, these are only 30 apiece, but there are 9 of them, so that's 270. And then I have another 500 for these next two on this column. So that's another 500. So that's 770. And then there's 400 for our last one here. And another 250 here. So that's 1,400 basically. And right now we have 800 data banks left, which means we still need another 600 or so. So I am prepping our rocket for another trip up. One thing I set up while I was in here, we did have a lot of carbon dioxide buildup. Oxyfern wasn't really doing the job, which is okay. But so what I did is I put in a mini pump and I put in a switch to it. So while the ship is docked and it is and this switch is on, it's pumping gas out of here, and I'm storing up oxalate. Food already got stocked up. We're restocking plastic. Rad pills, I thought I had it set up to make rad pills continuously while I was in space, and I didn't, so I set up a little automation for it. And so now it's going to keep making rad pills until we get enough rad pills in the ship, and then we will have it make 100 more here, which means that while the ship is in space, we'll be continuing to craft 100 rad pills, and then this fridge will shut this off. And this just has to be a fridge so that I can store them. The rad pills don't spoil, so it's not like I need it to be a fridge, but that's what I need for the automation, because I can't use a storage bin because you can't put rad pills in the storage bin. You need a refrigerator or a food storage container of some kind. But so in the future, we will have, by the time the rocket comes back down, we will have more rad pills to restock, which means we don't have to wait. They'll stock it super quick. We can send it back up. That being said, we probably are going to be changing this rocket not too long from now into a different type of rocket, because we now have our petroleum engines unlocked. So if we look at our research, we now have the petroleum engine and the small petroleum engine. We're working our way down through the researches here just to knock the cheap ones out. And then we're going to research the drill cone, which allows us to collect items from other planetoids or not planetoids, but debris fields in space. And then we're going to work on our Radbolt engine. And then the final one here is for us to have a hydrogen engine, which burns liquid hydrogen, and a liquid oxidizer tank. And so that'll be our final type of rocket that we use. We have a lot of hydrogen and oxygen stored. It's great. We need to get super coolant in order to easily get them down to a liquid state. So that's our goal. By the end of today's episode, I would really like to finish all of our research and at least get started on a rocket that can get us to where we need to go to get the items we need for supercoolant. Let's check on our research real quick. So we're flying through stuff. This one is the next one we're working on. So I'm going to let things go for a while. Once this is ready to launch again, we'll launch him. And we just got to wait for more rad pills. I have 35. We have enough oxalate. We have 100,000 calories of food. And also, this is sitting here. It's going to start getting stale if I leave it here too long. I think I might relaunch the rocket and then we'll just run him for 30 cycles, and then when he comes back, we'll handle that. Because we got the carbon dioxide down to this level, which is fine. We have enough oxalate that it'll last for a while. And we can just run a 30 cycle trip up and then come back down, and by then we should have made 100 rad pills so we can restock quickly. So let's do that right now. We go back out to our... Actually, we can do it from in here. And we're gonna... Our crew is still set to haze, that's good. We're gonna set it so that only crew is allowed inside. Let's shut this off. We're gonna go out to the main colony. This we can actually retract ahead of time because he can get in through here. So let's check. We need to set our destination. And we're gonna just put him to there. And everything is set. We're ready to launch. So like I said, we're gonna let him run doing more data banks for another 30 cycles, and then we'll bring him back and restock the rocket again. And in the meantime, we're gonna start building our petroleum rocket. So I'll come back once I have a plan set up for how I'm going to do the petroleum rocket. So the floor of my little capsule here is a bit of a mess because I've been tinkering. I think I came up with something that's kind of clever and I like it, so I wanted to show you it. I wanted to make it so that carbon dioxide still sat on the floor of the capsule so that we could keep our refrigerator in a sterile atmosphere, which we have still. These, I mean, it's switching between normal and sterile right now because carbon dioxide hasn't built back up. I'm still working on that. But I tried a couple different things. I put in a sensor for carbon dioxide when it got too high and then turned on a pump. And so the pump is going and it's pulling the gas through and it's pumping it out if it's carbon dioxide. So the way that works is that I made a loop and then I put in filters. And so I have a filter up here. If it's oxygen, it puts it back out into the cabin. And if it picks up any carbon dioxide, you can see this little piece here is going to make its way around. Then it comes down here, it hits this sensor, and it goes out. Of course, the autosave is in our way, so we can't see it. But then it comes and it gets vented into space. So anytime carbon dioxide gets picked up here, it gets pulled out. But because we're pulling out the oxygen, and then putting the oxygen back in, it should keep us pressurized to the point where the carbon dioxide doesn't rise up very often until the carbon dioxide fills the bottom of the cabin. I may need to switch this pump so that it's the other way around. In fact, I think I am going to do that. Let's do that right now. If I put the top of the... If I switch the pump around, then it'll fill up these two spaces and it won't pull out of the third space, which I think is better. So what we're going to do is just put this gas pump upside down, which means we won't need this line here, but we will need one more line of power. And so basically what's going to happen is this pump is going to pull gas out, and it's going to pull from this tile and higher, so the bottom 3 tiles won't get pulled in. And when that means that we can keep carbon dioxide down here, any other gas that builds up here, if it's carbon dioxide, it'll get vented. As it pulls in the oxygen, if it goes around, it will get pulled out and put back into the cabin to keep the pressure going. And since I moved the orbital data collection lab up, Hayes can stand here and do his work. Even if the carbon dioxide starts to get up to his feet, he'll be fine. So the only time he has to go into carbon dioxide is to either pick up food or go to the bathroom, which is, both of those are fine. He sleeps in oxygen, he eats in oxygen, and we still have a mess hall, barracks, and a washroom. We don't have the decor level that we had before, but so that affects the morale a little bit, but his morale is fine. he is he's making it just fine. The -1 isn't great, but it's doesn't hurt him because of the level of skills he has. So everything's working great, and then I'm hoping to see the carbon dioxide build up to fill up all 3 of these bottom tiles. So that way our food will last even longer. And it's not super necessary, it's just been, you know, kind of fun to figure out. As far as our research goes, while I was figuring that out, we knocked out all the researches down on the ones that it cost 30, and we're done with that. We're now researching the monument research, which is going to take a little while longer because there's a bunch to do. All we have left are these 3 up here, which is another 900 databanks. If we come out here, we still have, it says 500 left. That might need to be updated because we did do a little bit. No, it still says 500, but we're doing research now. So the 500 is in addition to what's in here, so we have 129 in there, which I think is enough to finish the research that we're currently doing. Yeah. And then so we still need 900. We have 500 here, and back on in our rocket, we currently have another 100. So that means we still need to make 300 more. We have 23 more days that Hayes can stay up in space until he starts having radiation issues. And we're going to let him do that. The main reason that I wanted to change this around is because when the orbital data lab was down here, he wasn't getting a lot of work done because he would have to go up and breathe in between all the work he's doing. Now he can stand here all day long, do his research, or do his little song and dance to make our databanks, and everything goes great. So I'm going to let him finish out his time and get the databanks we need, and we'll keep doing the research. I have started building my rocket for our petroleum rocket. Let's go up and take a look at that quick. So this is our rocket currently. I haven't built anything inside the Spacefarer module because I'm just doing testing here. But we have... Let's see. So, small oxidizer tank, I set it for oxalate. Do I not have any oxalate? I have oxalate. Oh, you know what the problem is? This is set to storage at priority 6, priority 7, and this is probably set for priority 5. So we'll set this to priority 8, and they'll start pulling oxidizer up. But everything else, everything is checkboxed. So, assuming I'm building this here because I want to test to see what range we get with the small petroleum. It looks like if we get enough oxidizer, we're gonna see, because we're full of petroleum. We didn't fill up the tank yet. I just want to see. So with the oxidizer full and this tank full with 450 kilograms of petroleum, we have a range of 10. So the next thing I want to test is I'm going to take the pipe and I'm going to run it up to fill up this large liquid tank and see if that will affect our range. It should. We're going to have to do a ladder up to get to these. So we'll let that build while we finish doing some more databank stuff, and we'll test. I don't think I'm actually going to have the rocket built here. I'm just testing here. I'm probably going to bring my other rocket down and then dismantle the engine and put the small petroleum engine over there, because I don't want to have to rebuild the Spacefarer module. But I'm not sure. I might leave this one here and build a new one, and because we can duplicate the Spacefarer module. So we're gonna let this build. We'll do some more testing here, and we'll get our research done. I've been building rockets, and I've been learning things, and it's kind of exciting. So I built a small petroleum engine rocket, and I built a large petroleum engine rocket. there's two differences that I can tell. Small petroleum makes it so that the build height for your rocket is 20. It also holds 450 kilograms of fuel. Large petroleum doesn't hold any fuel, but it gives you 35 as a height for your rocket, which is pretty awesome. I actually want to go up here and change. Let me cancel this. I'll tell you why if I'm doing that in a second. But so what I was trying to figure out as far as range for the rocket is how that's calculated. And so if you look at the range remaining, this one says 10 and this one says 20. And the reason it is because the range is calculated by taking the larger of the two, fuel or oxidizer remaining, and then dividing that by fuel consumed per tile, which is 45. So in this case, you take 900 oxidizer remaining, divided by 45, you get 20, which means you'll run out of oxidizer after 20 tiles, so the extra fuel doesn't matter. On this rocket, we're actually getting more range now as we pump more fuel in, because the oxidizer held 1,800. The fuel was only 900, so we were still only getting 10 because 900 divided by the 90 kilograms per tile for this rocket, because it's a bigger rocket, meant we could only do 10 instead of 20 like the smaller rockets do. Now that we're pumping more fuel in, now I have fuel in that has filled up both of these tanks. Now I can do 1,800 fuel divided by 90 gives me 20 tiles. And this rocket can go up to 35, which means right now I have a solar panel built in. I'm building in a battery. I have my spacefarer module. And then this is all my fuel and oxidizer setup. I still have space. So my goal is to put in a drill cone once I finish researching it, and probably a cargo bay. Let's see how much it would take to fit in a cargo bay. Let me see, where did I put that? I want that to go up one more. There we go. So that leaves me with 3 spaces on the top. I don't have the drill cone yet, but I don't think that that's going to be enough space for the drill cone. I think the drill cone... We'll have to wait and see. We may have to change some things out. We could remove the battery module and have this set up the same as the first rocket we did, where we have a battery inside the spacefarer module. And then that'll give us some extra room too. So it's just a matter of balancing out what you have to do it. So these 2 rockets right now, the thing that is interesting to me is this rocket is 14 tall. Or 19 tall. It's 19 out of 20. And it can go 20 tiles. This rocket is 32 out of 35 tall. And it can also go 20 tiles. It's going to use twice the amount of fuel because it's a bigger rocket, but it can still go the 20 tile range. If I wanted to increase the range, I would have to increase the amount of fuel and oxidizer. And so that's where, once we get this set up, our research, once we finish it, will get us into the hydrogen rockets. So and the liquid oxidizer. And so the liquid oxidizer is going to mean we can store more oxidizer in a smaller space. And the hydrogen will probably be the same way. We can store a lot more fuel in a smaller space. And so that's going to mean that we can make a rocket that can go much, much farther and not take up as much space. Because while this can go pretty far, the oxidizer and the fuel setup right now is taking up a lot of our space, because these large fuel tanks are 5 blocks tall, and the large oxidizer tank is also 5 blocks tall. So we're taking 15 blocks of our 35 block tall rocket just to provide the fuel and the oxidizers we need in order for our rocket to go the 20 blocks or 20 tile range that we have. So I have currently the research that we're working on is to research the drill cone, which will allow us to collect resources out in the star map. And I'm gonna get that researched and get that built here, and I'm gonna work on getting my Spacefarer module set up so that we can do an extended trip. So I'm trying to figure something out. If you look at the power, this line says 2580. It's fine because a couple of those are these gantries. When you run the gantries, no problems. And I get that, like, it says 1200, but it doesn't use 1200 all at once, and so that's why it doesn't overload. When I do this one over here, we end up with a symbol where we don't have enough power, but it still has enough. What I don't know is that on this line, where I'm now at like 18,000 watts because I have, you know, dozens of these gantries. I have 6, 12, I'm gonna have 16 gantries that are all wired up to the one power line. Is that gonna work? Is that gonna overload my power? And so I'm finishing building it, and then we're gonna test it and find out. I think it's gonna be fine. I think it might take it a minute to get enough power up to all of them to do it. But I think it'll be okay. But we're gonna see. We're gonna check in on our dude in here. I'm really happy with this system. The carbon dioxide is doing exactly what I want. And like I said, it's okay that there's carbon dioxide down here because our dupe doesn't spend a lot of time down here. They just go to the bathroom, and they can hold their breath when they go to the bathroom. Who doesn't like to hold their breath when they go to the bathroom? And they're down here to grab things, and that's it. The rest of the time, they're up here in the oxygen, happy as can be. And like I said, it just keeps cycling the oxygen back in, and anytime the carbon dioxide gets up, it goes out. And because I put this gas pump the way I did, we're building up carbon dioxide up to this level. And then if it goes any higher, it'll start getting sucked out, because this actually goes down to this block here. So everything will work great. We are up to 283 units here. We still have 14 cycles left that we can go. Could actually go a little farther than that if we needed to, because he'll make it a couple extra cycles because he'll be able to avoid some of the radiation through the toilet. But not forever. But that's okay. I don't think we need to go more than those 14 cycles, because if we go back to our main colony, we have 200 more databanks to go. We're almost done with this research. In fact, we're done with the data analysis part of that research. We're just finishing the regular research and the material study research. And this is saying growth herd because of fertilization. I wonder if these, when they do say 7, I wonder if it's because I have high priority construction up here, so they just haven't been doing it. We'll have to wait and see, because this is getting finished. But that's what the bottleneck is right now. We're waiting on radiation for the material study terminal, and he's plugging away at this research. But so anyway, the research, we have we had 222 left here. We have 283 in our rocket, so that's a little over 500, and we still have 50 in here, so we have 550. We go to our research. Only thing I have left to do is this one and this one. That's 650, so I need 100 more. So basically, if I get this to 400, we're done. We don't need any more data banks. So we're going to let that keep going. And while we're doing that, we're going to finish building a rocket here so we can do some testing. I am removing this rocket, the small petroleum. I did want to build it because I wanted to see the differences, but basically the difference is that I want the bigger rocket so that I can do more when we go out. I want to be able to pick up some resources and things like that. So our goal is to get finished building this rocket, get everything set up, and then we will launch it to try to locate where we get super coolant from. We've researched everything to the point where the orbital data collection lab research is finished on every piece of research except for the final one, which requires 400 databanks. We look in here, we have 24 databanks left, 0 here. And when we go to our rocket, not that rocket, that's a construction, we have 393 in here, which means it's time for our pilot to come home. They're going to land. We are going to do you want Atmos suit, assign that to A's, put it back on. Okay, and then once the rocket lands, there he goes. Now we can sweep all this stuff out of here. And we can also it'll automatically start restocking this rocket. So what I'm going to do is turn off this refrigerator so it doesn't store anything. Turn off this one so it doesn't store anything. We'll empty out the plastic. And this one is the oxalate. I'm going to take that out too. And we're going to basically, I'm going to leave this rocket here in case we decide we want to use it again. But I'm going to empty everything out of it so that and use it again. And then we're going to, or so that we can use the items from it to stock our other rocket. In the Calypso here, we're going to set this to be pickled meal. Set this one to be red pills. And that's it for now. Because we don't need to be taking plastic with us. We're not going to put an orbital data collection lab in here because we don't need to do any more of that. This rocket we're going to be designing just for long-term space flight. Because basically we just need our pilot to be able to chill in here and then control the rocket as we move it to other parts of the star map. So getting food in here and radiation pills in here is pretty much all we're going to need to do. I got to figure out how I want to do. I think I'm going to do the ventilation the same way. So we're going to put a mini gas pump upside down right here. And we're going to run ventilation from here out. But we're going to have to set up our loop just like we did before. And I think that we may do that. We may have, since we have a little more space, we might be able to do it without having it go all over the place. But I'm going to work on getting a filter in here for the gas, and we're going to set it up the same way. So oxygen will go up in here, and carbon dioxide will get vented out. But that means we need to put in oxalate. I think we're getting close to having everything ready. Let me go back to this rocket, and we'll see. This is just emptying out all the gas from in here, which isn't really necessary, but we might as well get this carbon dioxide out of here. Now that we have the research done for this, we can continue on to finish the databank research for our final research, but we still need to get the rest of the research done. And I want to get the drill cone done before we move on to sending our rocket out. So we're going to leave it on that for now, and then we'll come in and we'll do our final research. And then that'll give us the colony achievement for all of our research. Research is progressing, not super fast, but it's progressing. We still need to finish off the material studies terminal research, which is the one that requires the rad balls. I realized after I was designing this rocket that I need to send it out without the drill cone anyway, because I don't have the space to do what I need to do. Because if you look at these tiles, they're undiscovered. I want to go out and explore the edges of the map. The problem is that if I don't have a cartographic module, I can't fly into those areas. And so that's going to take up too much space anyway. So what I did is I put in the cartographic module, I added in a battery and an extra solar panel so we'll have some more power. And now we have a rocket that is ready to fly. We just need to set a destination. And since we have added the cartographic module, we can travel out into the edges of the map. So we're going to fly there because it's 10 spaces out, and then we'll fly back. So let's check our checklist. We have everything there done. We just need to board our rocket. Go inside and look at the interior. Inside, we have 128,000 calories, which is enough for 128 days. I have enough rad pills for 100 days. I have enough oxalate to last quite some time. And everything else is all set up. I don't need a lot for this one because we have a cot, we have a bathroom, and we have a mess hall. In the future, I might add some decorations in to try to bring the morale up, but Hayes is going to be our pilot, and he's going to be okay. So, quickly, I'm going to unequip his suit. I'm going to set this as his bed, so he's ready to sleep. I'm going to set this as Hayes' mess table, and then we're all set. Now he should be able to do his thing, eat, sleep, and we're ready to launch our rocket. So let's go back out. We want to open our gantries. And then we are ready to launch. All our checklist is good. So let's launch our rocket. So while this rocket goes and launches, slow it down so we can watch this launch slower time. I want to check to see if this rocket's going to be quite a bit hotter than the last one we did. I want to see if it melts any of my pipes and stuff like that, if I need to change it. I have a feeling that might be a problem. Nope, the insulated pipes seem to be handling okay. Looks like everything was alright. We have a lot of heat from that carbon dioxide. I should probably do something to get recapture some of that heat. But this rocket's going to take quite a bit of time to travel out to here. It's going to take 6.4 cycles. So during that time, I'm going to let our research continue, and hopefully we will get the drill cone done. And then when we come back, we can swap out the cartographic module and add in a drill cone. Hopefully we locate somewhere where we can actually get super coolant. We may need to send this rocket out a few times to find where we need to go. If I remember correctly from my last playthrough on this map, it's somewhere in this section. So we'll start here and work our way around until we find it. Another interesting thing is while we were doing all that, because we're not running the petroleum system here, we're using all the solar power. All the carbon dioxide that had built in here, up in here from our ethanol distillers, is cleaned out. So now we have a base that's full of just oxygen and polluted oxygen. There's a little bit of chlorine and carbon dioxide backed up over here because it can't quite get through because of the kitchen. But mostly it's all nice and cleaned out. We've also built up almost 800,000 calories here and 900,000 calories over here. So we're doing really well there and everything's going great. Final thing I want to show you before we call this episode done. I had moved the hatchlings over to this side of the colony. So they're just in here. I set up a little nursery so that I can we have a couple extra ones. Let's get rid of them, turn them into meat. We have an incubator set up here so that the extra eggs can get processed. And then we have some automation set up so that any eggs that get put into our main storage get put out here so that we don't have them hatching inside here. In order to feed those hatches, we needed the sedimentary rock that we had been using on the main colony. So I set our system here to send sedimentary rock across. And in order to make it so that that is a much more efficient system, I set up a conveyor belt that goes all the way up here, and it gets loaded in here from our main storage. And what's interesting about this is once I'm done sending sedimentary rock, I can use this same line to send other items down there so that we don't have to have our duplicates picking up items and carrying them all the way down to be transported across. And so it's a pretty nice little system. I also have this set to send any of my hatch eggs across because I still have just the last little bits of this farm here. I didn't destroy it. I figured we'd let these last few hatches do their thing. And I'm dismantling this as we go. So every once in a while I just take off another piece of it. But eventually this will all be gone. So that's the system we're using for that. We are waiting for the research to get done. Our rocket is well on its way to exploring our star map. And we'll spend a lot of time with the Calypso uncovering as much of the star map as we can. And we'll set it up to start harvesting some super coolant. And in the next episode, that means we can start setting up our process for making liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, assuming that we get the super coolant that we need, and we can move on to the next stage of our rocket development program. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.